My name is Dana, and I'm here to talk to you about West Side Story 2021. Not the original, but the 2021 version, directed by Steven Spielberg and screenwritten by Tony Kushner. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. I was raised on West Side Story. This is a material that was introduced to me when I was at the age of 3, and it shaped me, it transformed me, and it was one of the best musicals I've ever experienced, to the point where I ended up studying musical theater all through adulthood. Um, I've performed musicals. I have been a part of musicals. I've been backstage. I've been different avenues of Broadway and of theater, and this was because of how West Side Story touched me as a child, how the story impacted me, how the music and the lyrics always meant something to me. Anytime that it's on TV, I watch it, even to this day. So when I heard that Steven Spielberg was going to remake it, retell it, reboot it, whatever version you want to say, when I heard that he was going to touch the beauty of West Side Story, I was livid. I hated the idea, and I was one of those angry people pointing to the sky. This is why you can't have anything good in life. This is why you can't have originals. Why are people always trying to do remakes or reboots? Do something original. And even though original movies exist and they're wonderful, uh, but this was something that I felt was very close to me, and when you touch something that is close to me or close to you, much like anything, whether it's a movie or a TV show or a book or anything at all, we have this sense of it's mine, it's my property. Why are you trying to touch it? Why are you trying to erase the magic of it? Why are you trying to do something to it and transform it into something that it's not supposed to be? And we've experienced that many of times, especially when it comes to the Lion King remake or the Aladdin remake. They end up being worse than what is already was out there. They end up transforming something into that was gold into garbage, and we just become very angry about it. Why are we touching history? Why are we touching the past? And so I was one of those people who was like, no. And then, slowly more information came out, and I was still no. And we saw the movie stills, and I'm not going to lie, when we saw the movie stills, it looked very beautiful, but it kind of looked like a Soulless Gap ad. It like one of those really fancy commercial spreads, when they have the campaign ads and you open your Vogue magazines. And I'm like, yep, that's what it looks like. It looks like something out of a Vogue magazine. It's beautiful, but it's not my West Side Story. This is not what I was raised on. Why are you touching it? So I saw the movie because that is what a film critic does. They have to go and see the movie, and that way I can say, oh, this is terrible, and actually have my facts as to why this is terrible. But, you know, I sat down in the theater, and I was very, kind of eager and also like very angry at the same time. And the movie played, and you hear the snapping, and you hear the whistling, and it triggers those, oh my gosh, they're really trying to do it. What's going on? And the more I watched, my opinion formed. And by the time it was over with, I was in this theater with not a bunch of people, but with people at Lincoln Center bawling, because what Steven Spielberg and screenwriter Tony Kushner has done is not a remake. I don't really, it's more like a retelling of what we know of for the original movie, and also what the original movie was based on, which is Romeo and Juliet. And what Spielberg has done, we know that he has this incredible range. We know that he has the ability to do something as heavy as Schindler's List. And we know he has something to do, sorry, that he can do something incredibly fun like Indiana Jones. And they have different emotions, and we feel very much attached to it. And he can bring dinosaurs to life essentially with Jurassic Park, and we know what he's capable of. Sorry. And for screenwriter Tony Kushner, He is a wonderful screenwriter, a wonderful playwriter, and he's done so many things like Angels in America for HBO miniseries, and so many different. He did Lincoln as well with Steven Spielberg, and he is able to transform characters into these people that you either root for or you hate. He's able to create such emotion and dimension to everything, and that when I was watching, West Side Story, they together have created, along with the rest of the team, I would say, in my opinion, that it was a literal masterpiece. That it not only paid tribute to the original, but it forged its paths to the point where it superseded the original movie. It superseded it so much, in fact, that it felt like the original movie was the outline, the first draft of Steven Spielberg's version. And I say that as someone who studied West Side Story, who studied Stephen Sondheim's lyrics, who went to school, to learn about musical theater and the arts. He surpassed that, and he created a beautiful homage to the past, but he has created this new way of movie musicals that I say, I'm not going to say it's never been seen before, but my God, he's just created this new way of filmmaking and storytelling. And it is absolutely the most beautiful film I have sat through. And what Tony Kushner has done has expanded the characters with these incredibly rich and multi-layered backstories, and he's giving them full dimensions. We have Rift, and we have Chino, and we have Anita, and we have Tony, and they are given a purpose and a reason as to why they're angry, as to why they're in love, as to why they're passionate, as to why they're fighting. And then you have the lyrics of Stephen Sondheim and the music of Leonard Bernstein, and they have arranged it in such a way that it really brought forth the impact of what Stephen Sondheim was trying to do and the genius that he was trying to create when it came to the original score and the original music. But remember, the movie came out in a decade where there were certain topics that we read in the lyrics, but the movie itself couldn't express fully. This was a time when, remember, Rita Mariano has given many interviews that stated that some of the cast, and were in brownface. The sharks were in brownface, you know, um, and they were portrayed by white actors, and some of them were actually in brownface. And what they've created is West Side Story is a love story that we know between Tony and Maria, and we know that it mirrors Romeo and Juliet, where you have the feuding houses and they end up falling in love and the chaos that creates around it. But this is also a love story of the people and the community and people belonging to a community that doesn't want them. It's about a city that no matter what the race is, you're still not good enough because you're not green enough. And what I mean by you're not green enough, you don't have money. The color green is what matters really when you get down to it. And you have these people who are poor immigrants because it shows us the town where, yes, you're white, but before you were Irish. There was the Italians and how they were considered other. And every group of people that came in to the community was considered other, to the point where we're all kind of at the same starting field. We're all immigrants. We all have no money. We're all poor. And it ends up telling the story about these people who are trying to hold on to the last bit of their community. And that is literally in shambles because the government is trying to make way for the rich. And there's a sense of irony to this because the torn down territory that the Jets and the Sharks are fighting over ends up becoming Lincoln Center. And we know that is a place that neither group at the end of the day can afford. This is an established arts and community culture that ends up becoming. This is where you have Lincoln Center. This is where you have the Metropolitan Opera. This is where you're gonna have the Walter Reed Theater. This was a theater that I was sitting in watching West Side Story, and you have to have money to have access to go see the Met, unless they have, a free day. A lot of us cannot afford the tickets. The Jets and the Sharks, at the end of the day, cannot afford the tickets to even go to these events. So you see that there's that sense of irony of what are we fighting for? We're literally fighting for trash. We're literally fighting for the building that was knocked down. And we see the wrecking balls, in the shots. We see the rubble. The rubble is everywhere. We're walking out of buildings where the next building is completely demolished because it's making way for these new homes for people who are very rich. And they're people who are literally being evicted out. So what are we fighting for, really? We're both going to get kicked out and live in the streets at the end of the day. So it's that sense of irony that um, is really brought forth in the movie we see, and that is just one of the ways that they kind of bring this story to full circle, and to really bring about the characters, which the original really hasn't really touched upon. And Steven Spielberg has created kind of this story that's always been in a musical, but you have to listen to the lyrics. It wasn't really able to fully touch upon what the lyrics were saying in the story because of the time period. But with this one, we have the story of gentrification, the police corruption, racism, but it's racism both outside the community between the Latinos and the whites, but also racism within the community. We have Afro Latinas and Afro Latinos, and I'll get to that character. But in one of the scenes, she says, "Oh, we're family, but what? Am I not good enough because my skin is darker than yours?" And it really says a lot without saying so much, but it says a lot by saying, racism within ourselves. Oh, I'm not good enough for you. I belong to you, but I'm still not good enough because of the color of my skin. And then it goes back and forth, with that. Um, so it also touches upon, like I said, colorless poverty. Poverty comes to us all, no matter our race. Uh, Also, we have the prison system with child abuse, the beauty of making a foreign land your own. And these are all part of the overall love story of West Side Story. And it represents, forgive me, the ups and the downs of being in love with something or someone. Uh, and so we follow these characters on their journeys, and we have now such a backstory where we understand why certain characters behave a certain way, and why there certain characters are racist towards others. And it's not for racism's sake. It is racism because it's a sense of my life has been stripped away from everything, and my life really feels like I don't have a sense of belonging. I don't feel like I am important enough. Society has really stripped that away from me. So I'm going to blame that group over there instead of the people who are actually doing, you know, the discrimination against me. I'm going to blame that other group. You're the reason as to why my life is poop right now. And we see that with a character played by Mike Feist in Rift. Mike Feist is an incredible actor who is also in Newsies, Disney's Newsies. So you can go to Disney Plus and watch him in Newsies. He's an incredible performer, incredible singer, incredible dancer. He's an athletic dancer. And if you know the choreography of West Side Story, it's very hard. And he performs it like it's nothing, like he could just do it in his sleep, like it's just literally nothing. And his character, um, he plays Rift, like I said, and Rift is a racist. But he's not a racist for a racist's sake. He is a racist who is acting out of fear. And in no shape or form does the movie give that an excuse. Absolutely not. But you see a child. because remember, these are still teenagers. And you see a child who's scared of losing the only thing that he has ever had left in his life, which is this community, is these friends. Tony is his best friend, and the environment and everything that he has is being torn down, and he's blaming the other group, the sharks, for kind of the downfall of everything. And like I said, his life has been stripped away from him. We don't see the backstory, but we're told, and it's told in a way where it gives, I don't want to say it gives a reason to, but it explains so many of Riff's actions to the point where you get a sense of where he feels like he's hopeless, and anything can happen to him negative, and he'll accept it. If death comes, so what? What more do I have to live for? If an opportunity comes, hey, I'll take it, but it'll probably fail. And if it does fail, I'm going to blame those group of people over there. But you feel this sense of sadness for him. You feel incredibly sad for this character because, he doesn't have anyone, and it doesn't excuse him of his action, but he is really part of the overall voicelessness of people. And it makes you understand why people behave a certain way, why he behaves as he does. And the group that he is trying to influence, they're all misguided. They're not racist. They're actually misguided. And what they do say and how their actions are, yes, it's racism. They act in racism, but there's a point that they make a point in the movie where they say, wait, why do we hate this group of people so much? They come from Puerto Rico. Isn't Puerto Rico part of the United States? They make that a point to kind of say, but we're still going to blame them anyway. So it gives another dimension to, oh, I'm a racist for the sake of being a racist. And like I said, it doesn't excuse their actions, but it kind of makes you understand certain things. Um, Also, you have the cast is absolutely incredible. And like I said, it really opens up and gives characters that we've known, but we wasn't really able to fully kind of know and express and get that backstory to. We get more, we learn more about them. So we have Bernardo, who is Maria's sister. I said Maria's sister. I am so sorry. Maria's brother. We have Bernardo, who is Maria's brother. And we understand why he is so protective of Maria. We understand why he feels that he has to protect his territory. He's a boxer, which was a nice touch that they added, but he is a boxer and he's always fighting. He fights in the ring, he fights in the streets, and that's kind of all he knows. And he's fighting to protect his own because of he feels the outside forces that are there trying to take everything away from him without even giving him an opportunity to succeed. Uh, we also have like, and we'll really quickly, we have Ansel. I'm gonna butcher this, but we have Ansel Elgort who plays Tony, and with Tony, in the original, oh, he met Maria and fell in love. But with this one, he's given such a backstory where you kind of understand the relationship between him and Riff. They came from literally the same. The womb to the tune is kind of like the expression where they are the same. They are brothers to the end, but the trajectory of their lives are very different. What we end up seeing is, without any spoilers, Tony's path changes because of an event that happened in his life, and it impacted him so much that he feels that he has to be active in making a change within himself. And this is something that Riff is unable to do. Riff is still stuck in that cycle of victim blaming and blaming other people for what happened in his life. And what doesn't excuse, like I said, his backstory is sad, what happens, but there's a moment when you have to say, yes, this is what happens, but I have to make a change so I don't repeat that again. And Riff isn't able to do that, but Tony is actively working to do that. And so he does end up falling in love with Maria, that we already know, but there is a backstory, and that backstory does come into question by Bernardo, where he's wondering, are you doing this because you feel guilty for what happened in your past? Are you trying to use my sister is to clear your conscience? Or you think you can just fall in love with a pretty brown girl and that erases everything? And I'm not trying to spoil anything, but there is such an interesting dynamic of how you see this kid trying so hard to make an apology and really just trying to change in life, and him facing a situation where he's unable to make change because outside forces are not allowing him to, but he's trying so much, but he does end up getting caught up in certain things that I cannot say because this is spoiler free. But one of the other things that I love here, was Chino is they brought about this character who we kind of saw in the original movie, but Chino is a good guy. He's explained as a good boy, and he is, an accountant, and he has the things that you would need in life that a good girl is looking for. A nice accountant. He has money. He's very loyal. He's a very good friend. He wants to belong, but the thing is, he wants to belong so desperately that belonging can blind you from everything else, and you kind of become, I don't want to say obsessed with wanting to belong, but you're willing to change yourself in order to belong to something that you probably really should have just minded your business with in the first place. Um and and how that sense of belonging can ultimately cause a downfall within a character, and I can't really go into detail with that, but they really opened up the story with Chino, where he is in the background, but he plays such an important role to the story overall, and it's absolutely beautiful. What It's not beautiful, but what they do is it's very impactful. And then we have other people in here that play such an important role as well. This is from the press conference, but we have Brian Darcy James, who's sitting behind Ansel Elgort. I'm sorry if I mispronounce any of these names, but Brian Darcy James, an incredible actor. But to me, he will always be Shrek from Shrek the Musical, which I think is still on Netflix. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. But he plays Officer Krumke. And if you know the music, hey, Officer Krumke, Crump you. Um, he plays a part of the system, the overall system, the police system that is, corrupted and cycles these kids in and out of prison, and is always, arresting kids for doing kid like behaviors, which is expressed in the song, Officer Krumke, where, kids are don't have that foundation of being loved and coming from a home of care, and so they run to the streets, and and they're considered criminals, and now they're labeled as, from bad apple to, you were this hardened criminal, and these are still kids inside, and instead of trying to reach the kids and to pull them out of that situation, they just keep cycling them with in and out of the prison system, and he kind of represents that. And this is why I say the movie touches upon the prison system without going into the prison system, because that's what Stephen Sondheim has done with his lyrics. And then also we have here, I'm trying to find the Coral Stall, who plays Lieutenant Shrink. Lieutenant Shrink is literally he is one of those racist cops. He is a cop who, he's always yelling and screaming at the kids and beating them up and telling them, go speak English, speak English, speak English, and by that term, speak English, that is a way of, you know stripping you away from your identity. We don't want that over here. You speak English. You're in America, even though, again, Puerto Rico is a part of America, but you're over there. You speak that language. No, we speak English over here. Speak English. And the movie constantly keeps telling them, speak English. And it also goes in with the Anita character, which I will get into. But with Officer Shrank, he represents that abuse and represents that stripping away of your identity, of constantly making you feel like you're less human. And this goes for both of the Jets and the Sharks. He's just there, picking up kids, cycle, like I said, the prison system. And we're going to going back really quickly with the Speak English. We have the part where Anita, where she, is constantly telling them speak English as well, because we have to assimilate, we have to do right. So by doing that, we have to fit in, so we have to speak English. It's very important. And she's trying to make them, I don't want to say strip away a sense of their identity, but to make them feel like America is a home and America is their home. And in order to do that, we got to speak English. um, and speaking of the English part, it's very interesting. Half of this movie is in Spanish, and it is completely in Spanish where there are no subtitles. And I hope they don't change this for HBO Max when it comes on. And there's a reason for that. They speak Spanish because if you don't understand Spanish, you're not going to understand what's going on. And by them speaking Spanish, that is their native tongue. And it's too bad you don't understand what's going on in the movie, because that's the way how immigrants feel when they come to a new country. They don't know what's going on. They don't speak the language. So it's harder for them to understand and to navigate what's going on. And by having there be no subtitles, we can't be in on their jokes. We can't be in on the conversation. It is to make us, for those who don't speak Spanish, feel like outsiders. And so with that experience, what we had when I was in the theater, half of the audience, I was like, there are parts that is absolutely funny, and they're having this really great conversation, and it's really intense, but you don't know what's going on because you don't speak Spanish. And so half of the audience was completely silent, while the other half was just laughing. And that is that sense of isolation that you feel when you come to another country. And I think that was absolutely wonderful how they was able to portray that by just simply not having subtitles. And I know a lot of people like, it's going to alienate the audience, and why are you doing that? You're taking away 50% of the audience. It's for a reason. And you may not like it, but it's nothing that's really original. One of the Broadway adaptations that they had several years ago, the play was half in Spanish and half in English. So this is nothing that's anything new, but it's really wonderful that they continued that. And it's very important that they continued that. So it was such a great idea. So going on with the cast here, um, everyone in this movie is absolutely wonderful. It is casted to perfection. We have Rachel Zelger, who plays Maria. Again, like, I'm sorry if I'm butchering any names, but she has such a beauty to her voice, to her tone, where she brings about, Maria has this sense of innocence and hope for the future. And you can all hear that within her voice. You have Ariana DeBois, who plays Anita, who's right next to Steven Spielberg. Um, she, for those who are aware, she was in Prom. And most importantly, she was the bullet in Hamilton. She played the bullet. She was literal death. And in this one, playing Anita, she has this role that it feels like a soulful mother role to Maria. She's there, she's trying to guide her, but she also has a relationship with Bernardo. She has dreams of making America her home, dreams of New York City. And she has such beauty and grace what she does. And there's the musical number of In America that is absolutely breathtaking, what she is able to accomplish along with the rest of the cast. And I would be completely, silly and stupid to not include Rita Mariano in this, who, my gosh, what she was able to do with this. She plays Valentina, and I'm not gonna spoil. There's a moment of an Easter egg in there that's like, what? But She brings this sense of guidance to the movie. She brings this sense of structure where she is guiding Tony, and she is trying to guide these other kids. She's known these kids since they were little, and to see how they turned out now, fighting constantly with each other and calling them the names and these derogatory names, and it breaks her heart. And she's trying so hard to guide them. And there's this scene, for those who know the original and know that she was originally Anita in the original production, but to see the scene with Ariana, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering these names, I'm sorry, but the girl who plays Anita now, and to see her, they share one scene together, um, it's very impactful, and it's very beautiful what happens in that one scene, and it kind of changes what the original a little bit did, um, with that, just a very little bit though. Um, but Rita, I feel, is the heart and soul of this movie, and we would not have West Side Story, the 2021 version, as it is without her. She brings this incredible just warmth to the screen. You feel every emotion that she has. She sings one of the songs, um and you can just feel that she is worried so much about all of these children, and she just wants them to be right. And I deeply hope and wish that she's nominated for another Oscar for this, because the transformation that she has is really beautiful to see her. When you watch the original as her and Nita, and you watch her now as Valentina, it's just, it's breathtaking what happens. um so moving on a little bit, I'm gonna get stuck. The musical numbers are actually superb. They are beautiful. The cinematography, again, is beautiful. But what Tony Kushner and Steven Spielberg has done is they opened up the world to West Side Story, where New York City really feels like it's one of the characters. They have taken so many songs. We have like this one here. This is a still from the dance. This is when Tony and Maria first meet, and the dance number is so beautiful, and it's kind of the clashing of the two cultures. They're at this dance, and you see this rivalry, this face off that they have, um, is beautiful. But we have here, this is from in America, and they're walking in the streets. It all takes place in the streets, and it opens it up where we get to see why they want to be in America, why New York City is so important to them. And we see all of these beautiful, you know, ways of how they express their love for the city and their dislike when they say, um, the part where about, I'm gonna have a nice home. I'm not quoting the music for verbatim, but you know, I'm gonna get an apartment. And the other one is like, well, you better get rid of your accent. They actually travel, and you see the what she's dreaming of, this new building that's about to be that's under construction. And she's like, I'm gonna get an apartment there, and he's like, you better get rid of your accent. But they travel to that place. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it right, but it's very transformative performance of what they do and how they open up the In America number. And then we're on a train. We get to go through New York City. We're on a train. There's a scene that's beautiful, and it's filmed at the cloisters. And it really explores New York City that way, where, we don't get the big expansive thing, but we get New York City as a whole and what it represents to them. And we get that visually. There's a number, cool, where they completely kind of redo with the choreography. The choreography doesn't completely match what we've seen in the movies, but it is in the spirit of the original choreography, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's athletic, and the dance numbers tell a story within itself. Cool is one of the numbers where they're fighting with a gun, and that gun, represents power. You got a rocket in your pocket, and you have to stay cool about everything. Don't worry, just be cool. And how they do it ends up being, a dance fight scene. And there's a lot of dance fight scenes in this that was just known for. It was beautiful. But the dance fight scene that's done on the scaffolding by the river is, and it's full of dust and debris everywhere. And they use that environment. They use the dust and they create this beauty. The cinematography really brings forth this wonderful image that they're seeing with the dust flying everywhere. And there are scenes that take place in the salt mine area, and I can't really explain why it was going on, but you see all these different environments and textures that they're able to use and blend in for the numbers. And I Feel Pretty is it takes place in a department store, and it opens up to the you see those sets when you look in the department store and how it's staged, and it's just staged to perfection. And all of the numbers really feel like they come to life even more. And that is not to say in the original was terrible. Absolutely not. But it comes to life even more when we see it now. And it is absolutely one of the most beautiful movies that you will see. The cinematography, like I said, it is breathtaking. Um, Please give everyone an award. The costuming is beautiful. Um, every part of this really feels like it was filmed in location, but it really parts of it in location. They obviously didn't film on actual 65th Street. They filmed up in Harlem and they filmed up in Washington Heights. It was actually filmed very close to In the Heights, the movie musical with Manuel Miranda. And this one, like I said, the casting is perfect and they really bring forth diversity. They give the story back to the community that it was supposed to originally be about. So you see Latinos, Afro Latinos of all different skin colors, all different tones and hues. And like I said, they're not just also in the background, they're in the forefront. Anita represents so much. And remember, like I said, with the racism within the community and outside of the community, and that, you know, Puerto Ricans don't all look the same. They don't all sound the same. They don't all talk the same, and you see that, and it is one of the most beautiful feelings to get that full representation, and that full, this is my story. I see myself in it, and it is one of the most beautiful things that makes West Side Story. Is a story of the people, of the community, and here's the people that it represents in this movie. And so overall, I, I really had my doubts coming into this. I honestly did not want to see it because, again, you're going to ruin a classic. And it, in no shape or form, does it ruin that classic. It turns it into something that is beautiful, that is an art that celebrates what we had originally, that celebrates Sondheim and Leonard Bernstein with the music. That if you watch the musical and if you're someone who's seen it and for me raised on it, it triggers that feeling that you already know. And they kind of change um, the order of the songs to fit overall with the story. And it doesn't feel like, and now it's time for our singing, and now it's time for a dance number. It feels authentic. And we got that with the original as well, especially with the fight choreography. But this, like I said, it does not feel like it's something that's separate. It feels like it's effortless. We go into the song, we go into this dance, we come out of it, we go back in it. It feels like everything flows beautifully. And overall, I really do feel this is Steven Spielberg's best work. This is one of the best movie musicals, period. And I know that many people will have an opinion about it, but I do genuinely feel that this is one of his masterpieces. And this is something where we see the growth of Steven Spielberg and the growth of Tony Kushner as a writer when they came and they created this. And I left the theater feeling grateful that I seen this. And that's how I think that this is one so far, one of the best movies of the year, if not the best movie of the year. That means I have to sit through every movie that released this year. But I genuinely feel that this is the best movie of the year, and everyone involved in this deserve Oscar nominations. SAG, not just nominations, they deserve Oscar awards, their Academy Award. They deserve SAG Award. They deserve Critics Award. Would any award, acting award that is out there, give this to them? Because this feels like something that was a collaborative effort that everyone worked hard to accomplish, and they knew this what they wanted to achieve. They knew the message that they wanted to bring forth. And at the end of the day, I felt that it was transformative. I am very grateful and thankful that I was able to see this. And to me, absolutely gorgeous. And everyone in this cast. I mean, just look. The pictures itself. Yes, I know it was like, oh, this is a soulless Gap ad, but when you see this, this comes into life that no picture can truly capture the real beauty of what's being shown. No picture can fully get there. You know, their picture can express the love that everyone had when it came to making this. And this is a movie where I genuinely want to see. These are young actors. We all know of Ansel. I'm sorry if I'm again butchering that name, but we know what Elgort is capable of. But with these other actors in here, especially Mike Feist and you have Ariana DeBois, everyone in here, Rachel, all of these people, they are incredible actors. And this is just them now, and they're still young. Imagine what they can do when they're older. So I want to see how they do in the future, and this was just such an incredible experience. So to me, this is a masterpiece. So thank you for listening, thank you for watching. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, whatever time zone that you're in. Thank you.